We've had a couple of technical issues on our side, but we are eventually in after a couple. We are just on board currently with KTM Sweden. My name is Ash, otherwise known as Origin Gamma. I am joined with Koala, and we are here for round 3 of the ISRL for Division 3 in Spa-Francorchamps, where the weather looks a lot better than what it was in the actual IRL race. But welcome, Koala. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. I'm hopefully going to see a few more racing laps than we've seen today in the real-life Belgium Grand Prix, but there doesn't seem to be a cloud in sight, and the track looks as good as perfect.
That's it's always a good to see. We do see KTM Sweden on setting the fastest lap of the race with a 1 minute 42.705, as we see the Aston Martin of Synchro spinning and rejoining the track as the Haas of, I think that must be Silver, who's coming through on a set of medium tyres. Let's just reflect quickly back onto the race in Mexico. We had 4 safety cars. A lot of drivers probably leaving that thinking they could have, well, what could have been really. But how did you find that race?
Yeah, that race was a madness, if it's one way to put it. 4 safety cars, we had Synchro leading large parts with a massive advantage over the rest, and then we had KTM Sweden leading. Asian looked strong in places. Even F1 Richie from last looked like he had a shot at one point. So if this race is anything to go by with the ruthless nature of the Belgium curbs, as you see someone go around at Eau Rouge, that will be Synchro and into the wall. If that keeps happening in the races, we're not going to have many finishes.
That's the second consecutive spin for Synchro, who was one of the individuals who was in contention to win the race last time out. Sadly, didn't work in the case. But I mean, this is a much more different track. 22 laps. Tire degradation not so much on these tracks, assuming of course it's dry. And with a much longer track as well, how different is this in comparison to Mexico, would you think?
Personally, I think this track's a lot harder. It's a lot more punishing. So you make a mistake, there's grass, there's a tyre wall only a few feet, and at such high speeds, it's very easy to make a mistake. So over a long race and a long track like this, it's quite a grueling track, because even Eau Rouge isn't simple anymore.
Absolutely. We saw in the IRL F1, we saw Lando Norris going off in wet conditions, but we've seen on several occasions just how difficult it is. Aizen quickest at the moment for the Alpine, 142.5. We've got a yellow flag again in the middle sector, but I think that is the Aston Martin just slowing down to allow the Mercedes of Bumblebee through. I'm just watching Lucchesi at the moment, winner of the Mexican Grand Prix for AlphaTauri. I was about to say Alpine. There's a lot of A's in this Formula One in these Formula One teams at the moment, as he comes through the bus stop chicane and goes 5th fastest, 143.3. So we're looking at it. I mean, Sweden's probably got the best representative here. Medium tyres for 2 tenths difference from Aizen on the soft tyres. How significant do you think starting on the medium tyres will be?
I think it's going to be very significant, actually. In a track with such a long lap, and where 2 sectors is full throttle, that pit lane loss is huge.
Absolutely.
So you don't want to be pitting.
Yeah, definitely.
Staying out will be crucial.
Yeah, and I guess one thing that would probably be even more significant, if we get a safety car, or in the case of last race when we had 4, if we get even 1, do you think all of them will be diving straight into the pits? Because like you mentioned, it's a fairly long pit lane, 40 miles an hour pit limit as well. So it's a huge loss. So if we get either a virtual safety car or safety car, how significant would that be for drivers?
I think, personally, if you'd have asked me at the start of the season, I'd have been like, no doubt, any safety car, these guys are going to be jumping off soft tyres. That's not turned out to be the case this season with what I've seen. So I think we'd still have a few drivers trying to go long on the soft and extend. But I'll go with my gut instinct like I would do every race and say, yeah, a lot of these guys will want to get rid of the soft tyres.
Definitely. Richie going fastest now for 1 minute 42.4. So the lap times are fairly close. With such a long track, 7 kilometres, the longest track on the Formula One calendar, there is a lot of time to really gain or lose from this on this lap as well. It's hugely significant, finding a lot of lap time here. Just watching on board with Lucchesi, who's diving back into the pits. I want to speak to you on this because, unlike in F1, we have an 18-minute full qualifying session. When you're deciding to pick soft or medium tyres, do you think mostly about taking that pole position, or are you thinking, you know what, I want the best tyres, I'm happy to drop a couple of places and just say, you know what, I'm going to start on mediums and it will come back to me in the race?
Personally, you'd aim to be in the top 10. Or I would be, at least, anyway.
Yeah. It's that question of whether do you want that track position more, or do you want the hopefully the better tyre strategy, because we expect it will just be a simple case of soft to medium tyres. But as you know, there's things like safety cars, virtual safety cars. They can make such a huge difference. As they come out at the worst time, for those on the medium tyres, for instance, that can really ruin a race strategy. But I suppose it's a case of trying to get up the field as quickly as possible. I am on board currently with the Alfa Romeo of Galloway at the moment, one of 4 drivers who have not set a lap time, albeit one of them is sadly retired, the McLaren of Pato. With only 14 drivers on the track as well, should be hopeful that a lot of them will be able to get into that top 10, and big opportunities as well.
Yeah, there should be a big opportunity here because it's very easy to make a mistake. You'll see a lot of drivers make small mistakes and spin, especially at places like Pouon, Radion, and maybe even Blanchimon and the third sector in a total.
Yeah, definitely. As we're watching through Galloway as he goes through the Pouon corner, it still surprises me that they can go flat out through that corner. If you asked me about 10, 15 years ago, I'd call you crazy for going flat out through that corner. But it's amazing to see how Formula One cars have evolved over the years. And apologies as well, I've been pronouncing Lucchesi incorrectly. I've been saying Lucchesi. My apologies. I just sometimes have to make a good gamble of a guess. But we've got, how many cars we've got on track? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 9 cars on track at the moment. All seem to be sort of closer together, more or less, which is interesting. But Galloway then through the shorter pit straight and goes fastest with a 1 minute 42.1. So we're expecting we might see cars dipping into that 1 minute 41 mark, would you think, depending on how significant the tyre delta is?
Yeah, for sure. And I'd like to also point out that it's a lot quicker than real life. We're seeing drivers not... Oh, as Galloway nearly made a mistake going through Radion. That wouldn't have helped him out a lot. No, I think it's quite crucial that these drivers don't make mistakes, because we are going 2 seconds a lap, maybe 3 seconds a lap sometimes, quicker than real life. So it shows Codemasters maybe haven't quite mastered the regulation changes and nerfed the cars enough.
Absolutely. Smart there by KTM Sweden. He was just coming down the back straight, and smart enough, he saw the slowing Red Bull of Krager there and decided to take the toe into that straight as well, to hopefully get a bit more slipstream. How powerful is the toe on this track in comparison to tracks, say for example like Baku or Monza with a bigger pit straight, for instance?
Yeah, this is up there with Baku and Monza for having a long pit lane. So at tracks where like Monaco, where the pit lane loss is relatively short, but track position is important, it's not like that here. The pit lane loss is relatively large, but track position isn't so important. So you can gamble and take that extra pit stop in the hope of being quicker towards the end of the race. But you really do need to have a lot of extra speed to catch up because the pit lane loss here is about 30 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting by Sweden, I've just wanted to mention as well, still on the medium compound tyres as well. Now, as he actually dives in spits, I was going to say, if he'd stayed out and completed that lap, I'm not sure if he would have had enough time to pit and go in for another set. So that would have essentially been his last run because with the length of this track, 7 kilometres, it takes a lot of time to get back into the pit lane. So Sweden choosing to abandon his run on the medium tyres, potentially go for a soft run towards the end of the race. But both Mercedes on mediums, worth mentioning as well. As there you can see Lucchesi 1:41.6, so we have now hit that 1 minute 41 mark as I thought they might do. That's a massive gap there between last week's race winner and the Alfa Romeo of Galloway.
Yeah, that's a very big gap. But this track is very hard to find time on. In the past, this track was one of my favourites, but this year it's increasingly hard. The curbs are a lot more sensitive and maybe realistic in some people's eyes. But the hardest one for me is maybe Radion and Eau Rouge is getting the car set up to take that corner well, while not sacrificing the rest of the lap.
Absolutely. There's that fine balance, isn't there, between how much downforce you want to put on, because particularly through, as you mentioned, Eau Rouge, Radion, but also the middle sector where it's much higher in terms of downforce requirements. But then you have to consider, the back straight, for example. You've got that run up to Blanchimont and into the bus stops chicane as well. You don't want to be running too much downforce. What kind of things do you think about then when you're trying to make that decision on how much downforce you want?
Personally, with this track being such a big compromise, there's drivers out there that will be like Lucchesi, ISRL Wooter, and other drivers that have such a good reputation for making compromising setups where they work everywhere. I'm a lot more single-minded. I'll either go for be really quick in the first and second sector and just limp through sector 2, knowing that you can't overtake me. Or I'll be a second quicker in sector 2, and I'll just rely on DRS and a slipstream with you.
And that will be 11th place on the grid. I'm watching at the moment the AlphaTauri of Lucchesi, who is coming back in. That certainly will not be enough time to get in. So his lap time will remain at a 1 minute 41.6. So
Crago's done for the day as well.
Yeah. So they are starting to come back in that time from Lucchesi. We're seeing Ivo Silva there, currently in third place for Haas at the moment, just pulling off into the grass to allow the Ferrari of, I think that might be Richie coming through. Yes, it is. So that's third, probably his race done. He does have some time to get up to the grid as well if he wants to.
Yeah, this track's a very long track. It's easy to get caught out with your qualifying timings of leaving the pit lane with 3 minutes to go, thinking if everything goes wrong, I've got another lap. Not here. No, you don't.
No, it's absolutely. You don't have a lot of room to breathe here. But 30 seconds to go. I'm on board with Galloway as he goes through turn 1. I need to up through Eau Rouge and Radion we go. And takes that very nicely, very well handled through there. We do have a yellow flag in Sector 2. That was a Ferrari. I'm not sure which one that is. That might be...
That was the Joseph Koza, Rumpelfugel.
Yeah, absolutely. Galloway's just gone slightly quicker in the first sector, but he has just invalidated. He just went a little too wide into that... what's that? That chicane. What is it called? I should know this. I've been spending about 30 minutes remembering them, but I don't remember half of them. Anyways, on board then.
Is it the sort of chicane at the top of the hill?
I think so. Someone's going to correct us. Anyways, I'm on board currently with the Ferrari of Sweden. Sweden goes fourth fastest as the Ferrari of Rumpelfugel has pitted. So next car then
I'm riding on board with former champion ISRL Richie on a very good lap. It's looking very tidy, not invalidated as of yet. I'll be able to give you a split update as he comes through the end of sector 2 just about now, with maybe about 300 metres to spare.
Yeah.
He's a thousandth down on his time.
Interesting. So how far can he get? He's done a 1:42.4. And bearing in mind, actually, it's worth noting the 5th and 4th are not too far ahead of him as well. So this is hugely significant for Richie. He does need a very good final sector into this bus stop chicane. Takes a little bit, not as wide as other drivers I've seen, through the bus stop chicane. Takes the shortest, but only enough to take 8th place at the moment. And that is your qualifying session done then. So Lucchesi, last week's race winner, on pole position by just under a tenth of a second from ISRL Bumblebee, who went second fastest. Galloway up to in third, ahead of KM Synchro for Aston Martin. Ivo Silva in fifth for Haas. KTM Sweden in sixth, ahead of CJ Butch. Richie in eighth alongside Aizen. In ninth for Alpine. Ferrari complete the top 10 with Rumpelfugeli in 10th. Then we've got ISRL Chris in 11th for AlphaTauri with a free tyre choice ahead of the Red Bull of Crago. Fragile Tunnel, I think, is in the Williams, I think. And Nino Pato, who retired very early on at the top of Radion, out in 14th place, starting last of our 14 drivers. So, after Mexico, after all the crazy shenanigans of that, how do we feel about this track? How do we think the drivers are going to fare in this track?
I'm interested about Synchro. He had a rough session there. He had quite a few off and bounced down the wall maybe once or twice. He recovered well to fourth, but I'm not so sure if that's maintainable for him.
Definitely. It's a crazy race. I mean, we saw in Mexico, there's a good half of the grid could have won that race. And you know, a lot of drivers would have been there thinking, okay, Mexico, I could have done really well in that race, and unless this and this happened. Does that play on your mind when you go onto a race like this, for example? Do you still think about what could have happened in the previous race, or do you just have to move on from it?
You've just got to move on. Like, I like to think as a driver, once you've had that accident, the best thing you can do is move to the next track, clear your head, get in a good headspace, get focused on that track. There's no point dwelling over a ripped off rear wheel or a ripped off front wheel in Mexico, because ultimately that's happened now. You need to focus and go forward.
Absolutely indeed. It's mindset is such a huge importance in Formula One in general, let alone league racing. But then, ladies and gentlemen, we are just about ready to get underway with the third round of ISRL Division 3. Hopefully, we'll get some more laps than we did in the actual Formula 1 race. Bit of a shame that we didn't get to see that race happening, but hopefully, you know, ISRL, you know, much more entertaining than Formula 1, am I right?
Yeah, for sure, and that's not so far from a familiar sight that we were watching not so long ago with the very deep grey skies. So will the rain hold off here in ISRL, or will these drivers have to challenge real-life professionals and see what this Belgium track can be like at its wettest?
Absolutely. So away we go then, apologies, for the formation lap, and it's the AlphaTauri of Lucchesi pulling away. I've got Leon Jurek, who's teaching me how to pronounce the name correctly. One day I will eventually get this correct, but until then you're just going to have to live with my scuffed pronunciation for a little bit. But let's look at then the tyre choices. It's mostly, of course, top 10 will be duty bound to start on the tyres they qualified on. So all top 10 on the soft compound tyres, as are Craig and Nino's Pato on the soft tyres. But Fragile Tunnel, only driver on the medium tyres. Now, what's interesting is, as you mentioned, the track temperatures would have gone down because of the grey skies, and that makes it much more difficult to gain track temperature in these tyres. So is starting on the mediums a little bit more of a disadvantage because you may not be able to get the temperature in the tyres?
Starting on the mediums will be a disadvantage initially. I'm not gonna lie. But after 2 to 3 laps, you start to feel the advantage coming back to you then. But in these murky, misty, very grey conditions, anything can happen. This is Spa-Francorchamps, people. This could rain in 10 minutes and go away in 5.
Yeah, Belgium is known for its unpredictable weather. It's always had that speciality to it. I'm thinking as well for Tunnel as well. He is down in 13th. He's on the back grid. He might as well try something else because, if he's down the back of the grid, he just qualifies on the soft tyres. Might as well try and do something else. Might as well try something different, an alternate strategy perhaps, and hope that maybe there's a late safety car coming out.
Yeah, what's interesting is he's the only one to have gone on the mediums.
Yeah, definitely.
So, does that really... does that mean that's not the right strategy to be on? Because I'm sure some of these drivers will have been helped by better drivers than ourselves. I know Bumblebee has quite a few friends in ISRL that are a bit higher up than himself, and F1 Richie and Asian as well. So it'll be interesting.
Definitely. It absolutely is. The drivers are now lining up onto the grid. We see the McLaren there of Ninos just lining up. We have all 14 cars on the grid for a bit more of an action-packed Belgian Grand Prix than what we have seen. A bit more delayed than what it is, but we hope then, as the 5 lights go out, we get underway with racing. And the lights go out fairly quickly there. We are underway for round 3. Looks like a decent start from all the drivers there. The Alfa Romeo of Galloway trying to dart up into the inside of turn 1. Bumblebee holding it off around the outside. We see a couple of cars going wide there. It looks like the Ferrari and potentially, I think, a Red Bull potentially that was going through there. As they go through, Eau Rouge and Radion all seem to get away pretty unscathed for the time being. And it is Lucchesi leading the way, but there you can see the Mercedes of Bumblebee closing up, pulling out to the right-hand side just a little further back, as we do see Galloway and Synchro dueling away as they come through the chicane, but Galloway just holding off.
Yeah, it was quite a good start from people like Fragile Tunnel. Although he's lost them positions now, initially he had quite a good getaway.
Yeah, definitely. Aizen going onto the grass there, dueling with KTM Sweden as they go through Puon there. There was the Ferrari involved, and Aizen now off the track, and that may allow the Ferrari of Rumpel just to have a little look. Ninos, great start as well, up into 10th place. Not a great start, though, for the one medium runner, which is, of course, Fragile Tunnel, all the way down in last place now, just ahead of Krager.
Yeah, I think that's the disadvantage of the mediums initially coming in there. He didn't get as good a getaway, and he's struggling for that grip that he showed much desire in this early stage.
Absolutely. As they come through then to the bus stop chicane, Lucchesi leads them by 7/10 of a second. Of course, we know the DRS will be in activation within the end of lap 3, so we'll be hoping that DRS is cleared from that in the future. We then have Bumblebee in 2nd place. We then have we did see drivers going down, but that I think is the typical Formula 1 glitch.
Synchro is 4th behind Galloway, and this is going to be close this lap. He's actually quite close to him, within half a second for 3rd place now. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if Synchro can disperse of it.
And we have got and Sweden is out of this race, and we have got a virtual safety car. And that is on the top of Radion, and we thought a driver might have one of those issues, and KTM Sweden is the very first individual to have an accident, and that has brought out the virtual safety car. Now, we didn't catch what happened there. I don't know if you was able to catch that, but...
it was a very I didn't see it, but all I can assume is a very Belgium-esque accident here. Eau Rouge is so much more difficult in sim racing than it is in real life. These cars don't really like taking that corner oh so well, so he's maybe just not quite got the setup in the sweet spot, and he suffered the consequences due to that.
Yeah, real disappointment for the Mercedes driver then. So that's one Mercedes out, the other one in second place. Yeah, it's. I mean, Eau Rouge and Radeon have become the centre of much controversy and much debate over the last couple of days, especially. But it's all about getting that perfect setup just to get it all super perfect, really, I guess.
Yeah, I think they could maybe do a little bit in the sim world to fix Eau Rouge and Radeon and make it a bit more driver friendly. But in real life, it's just such a ruthless corner that mistakes are very harshly punished. And
yeah, well, speaking of harshly punished there, Bumblebee has got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. We saw the virtual safety car dissipate, and you've got to be perfectly ready here. Bumblebee caught out, and as a result, that's more punishment for the Mercedes team at the moment. He will have to serve a drive-through. That's another incident. We've got Aizen in the wall again, and that is once again in Radeon. Now, is that going to be the scene of another safety car or a virtual safety car, perhaps? Huge shame for the Alpine.
I don't think it'll be a safety car because they have quite a bit of time to clear that car away, like they have done now.
Yeah.
However, I do think we will see more and more drivers as the tyres get older and older.
Synchro struggling on the exit of No Name Corner. Just looked like he locked the rear wheels up entirely. So you can see the Haas there of Ivo Silva just having a bit of an interest. But Synchro in the turbulent air of the Alfa Romeo of Galloway there in their battle for third and fourth at the moment. For Lucchesi though, even though Bumblebee is within half a second of him, with that drive-through penalty in effect, Lucchesi's kind of got not much threat behind from that Mercedes now.
Yeah, for sure, and that penalty has really put pain to any chance anyone had to challenge Lucchesi now. So he's gonna have an easy race as long as he can keep it out of the barriers.
Apologies. Bumblebee serving his drive-through penalty immediately as Lucchesi sets the fastest lap of this race, and now has a 1.8 second gap to Galloway behind. Synchro is right on the back of him here, and with DRS enabled, this may be a fairly straightforward pass here.
It is if everyone can keep it up on the road on the way through Eau Rouge, with the lack of downforce in a slipstream, and if you can complete the move here, like he has done round the outside, that was a spectacular move and good car control.
Yeah, it looks fairly straightforward there, but once again, the back end of Synchro's car stepping out of him. I wonder if he has got issues with the rear setup of his car, because he has been struggling massively. But he is now crucially ahead of Galloway and can now go and hopefully chase after the Alpha Tauri ahead of him.
Yeah, you've got to remember the dirty air off these cars. Oh, he goes round, and that was the back end problems you were talking about.
Synchro.
The dirty air off these cars really does cook your tyres as well.
Yeah, and the problem is as well, when you start to spin as well, that's it. That will heat up the tyres and overheat them, so you're more prone to spinning there. Synchro losing out there to the Alfa Romeo of CJ Butch there as well. But I did think he did have some kind of rear instabilities. The car was just snaking around all from the back, and I think Synchro's had another moment, or has a...
Yeah, he's falling back down the order again. Just out of the exit of the third or fourth to last corner before Blanchimont.
Yeah, Lucchesi now opens that gap up again. He's now half a second clear on that lap. Mentioned to Fragile Tunnel, by the way. We mentioned him on the medium tyres. It's not going so well at the moment for him. Quite far down on the field, although he is in 11th place at the moment. as we see Synchro pitting off those soft tyres. We're watching then the Haas of Ivo Silva.
Oh, and we've got an Alpha Tauri rounding into the wall at the top of Radion. That will be ISRL Chris.
The third...
With a big accident.
The third incident in that corner, but unlike the previous two, he does keep it on the track, albeit, has he got any front wing damage? He does look like the left end plate is missing there, as we get our first time penalty of the race. That is CJ Butch. He gets 3 seconds added onto his time.
Yeah, he didn't quite get top honours for first penalty of the race. That went to Bumblebee, but it'll be interesting to see how Bumblebee now recovers from such a penalty. He seems to have recovered fairly well. He's reeling in ISRL Chris and past, so it's just Fragile Tunnel now he's got to focus on.
Absolutely. Worth noting, by the way, well, we focused on that. Galloway has slowly been creeping back in on the AlphaTauri. The gap has now come down to 1.2 seconds on this lap. So Galloway's not just letting the AlphaTauri go there, as we've got the Williams, apologies, a Fragile Tunnel there, spinning on the, is that the exit? Oh no, that's the, I need to remember some of these corners. He spun though, that's the main thing. As well as that's happened, we do have the Haas of Ivo Silva coming in. Now, is that for front wing damage, or is that a undercut attempt potentially? It does look like...
I think that's an undercut attempt.
It is indeed. Medium tyres go on then. So, is that Ivo Silva then trying to pull the undercut on Galloway?
Galloway's in DRS and going to make an overtake.
It is. That is... And suddenly, Lucchesi, a bit too far back there, but that is a massive... massive there from that time, as we had a yellow flag initially. I think that was for the Mercedes of Bumblebee, but initially we did see the gap closing down to 1.3 seconds. Galloway, as he went up to that straight, just suddenly was in closing distance of him.
I don't know what's going on here. Lucchesi maybe got a tyre overheating problem, or is he underfueled and he's trying to save or something?
He is struggling.
Galloway was not this quick earlier, unless his race setup is just so good that Lucchesi can't compete, and that is very possible.
Synchro gets a 3 second time penalty. I'm just watching Lucchesi here as we've got a yellow flag in the middle sector once again. It does look like the car is just not suddenly just lost stability now for Lucchesi. As well as that happened, by the way, we just saw the McLaren of Ninos passing the Alpha of CJ Butch and up into 6th place. Good little recovery from the McLaren driver.
Yeah, he had a really good recovery. But this track is so renownedly hard to set a car up for. There's no wonder people like Lucchesi and Asian and KTM Sweden have struggled. This is possibly the hardest game on the track.
Definitely. I'm keeping an eye on Ivo Silva as well, starting to creep up onto the back of CJ Butch. Surely the Ferraris might want to be a little bit worried there.
Galloway is a lot closer now.
He is indeed. Galloway pulls out to the right-hand side. Lucchesi not really doing much to defend that one, really, I'll be honest. But a fairly straightforward move for the Alfa Romeo driver who takes the lead of this race. Lucchesi, though, I thought was going to come back there, but that fight was initially lost there, I think.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what Lucchesi could have done about that one. That was a bit of okay, I'm coming by, see you later, rather than, do you want to try and stop me?
Well, I suppose the difficulty is through that chicane, we've seen plenty of incidents going through there. It's very difficult to fit two cars in. So, it's, I suppose, potentially playing safe slightly, I imagine, but...
unless the instability in his car is of such a loss that he doesn't feel like defending it's going to gain him anything, so he might as well just let him by and just concentrate on his race, because F1 Rich is only 1.3 behind him himself. So
yeah, I was about to mention the Richie behind there in 3rd place. Good stuff from Ferrari at the moment. They are 3rd and 4th, which is great for them in the Constructors' Championship. Remember, both Ferraris having a bit of a struggle in Mexico last week. As interesting there, as Galloway pits then, That's the race
Richie
leader
as well.
pitching. Absolutely. So I wonder if that is in response then to Ivo Silva, who's been slowly catching in there as well. So this will be interesting. I'm watching Ivo Silva because I do want to see where Silva is. Silva's just coming through then the bus stop chicane. So this will be interesting. So, and I think
What's interesting to me is Rumpel Fugly, starting quite low down in 8th place, has he's managed to recover to 2nd and be somewhere close to the leader.
absolutely. F1 Richie will not be too impressed though because Ivo Silva's undercut attempt has paid off. Ivo Silva now ahead of the Ferrari, so that worked out brilliantly in that regard, but not enough to get ahead of Galloway at the moment. So the question is now, what does Lucchesi do? How long does the AlphaTauri driver want to stay out for? And do they try and hold out for a potential virtual safety car or safety car or something like that? Because it's a one-stop strategy. The tyre degradation isn't so significant here.
Well, from what I've seen here, if Lucchesi pits now, he's going to fall behind Ivor Silva and maybe even CJ Butch. So it's up to him now. Does he bite the bullet in pit now or wait 3 laps and come out way behind them?
Yeah,
I would pit now.
Definitely. And that is exactly what's happened. And then that is the race into the pits. Then comes Lucchesi, as does Rumpel as well in the second Ferrari as well. You can see there the Alfa Romeo just coming through the bus stop chicane at the moment. So crucially then, where will the overcut work here? So this will be incredibly close here for Lucchesi. Can they get out ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver? We're seeing it. There it is. And it has paid off. The overcut has worked. So Lucchesi back in the lead of this race.
Yeah, he definitely found some pace that he didn't have before. I don't know if Galloway had to fight to pass Ivor Silva or someone like that, but that really didn't work out for Galloway. I'm not really sure why.
Galloway was stuck behind the McLaren of Nines for a small period of time. That may have contributed to it, but now the question is, with Galloway now having tyres that are up to temperature, Lucchesi will have to try and do the same as well. And you can see that Galloway back within that DRS range at the moment, as we've got a yellow flag, and that is for Synchro again. Synchro having a pretty eventful race in his Aston Martin at the moment, was on the hard tyres and has spun off the chicane.
Yeah, this track's really hard for Ray and stability, and I can't stress this enough that if anyone from Cody's is listening, driving a real F1 car around Spa cannot be this hard.
I guess to an extent we'll never find out, I suppose. We never know. We could end up as Formula 1 drivers in the future, maybe. Never know.
Yeah, Lando Norris's teammate, maybe.
We can all dream. We can all dream of that. But we will see indeed. Galloway now within half a second of the Alpha Tauri. As interestingly, Silva then setting the fastest lap of this race. Not too far behind either. So don't discount out the Haas yet in this race. As they now plunge up through Eau Rouge and Radion. How close is Galloway to making a move? And Lucchesi seems to be... And that is a bit of an... I was about to say Lucchesi seemed very slow off the exit of Eau Rouge and Radion. But Galloway just almost had a moment themselves.
Yeah, I can't quite explain how hard them 3 corners in the middle of them 2 straights are. It's such a critical part to the lap, and if you get it slightly wrong, and you hit the decompression wrong in the middle, you're a passenger, and you're going to the scene of an accident that we've seen quite a few people have, including Lando Norris yesterday.
Yeah, huge relief to see that Lando Norris was all cleared to race, albeit, as you've probably heard us continuously say, We haven't seen much racing. And speaking of Eau Rouge and Radion, that is ISRL Chris having another moment, and that is the third driver out of this race. And once again, it's that same corner we talked about, Eau Rouge and Radion. There is a yellow flag in that corner, but it doesn't look like a safety car or virtual safety car will come out.
No. But also, Gallo and Silva have also kind of leveled out their gap, so these top three seem a lot more equal now, as Richie seems like he could maybe be the next one on a bit of a push.
Yeah, Richie within that just was within that DRS zone until they went into the bus stop chicane, just slightly missing out, I think, of there. But actually, no, he does have DRS. So Richie could be closing in on a podium here. Galloway seems to have slightly dropped back from the AlphaTauri ahead. And once again, it's a bit more out there. But once again, through Eau Rouge and Radion, Lucchesi really hasn't got the grip. And you can see Galloway closing in.
Look at the advantage there.
That is a...
Wow.
That's not an overtake. That's a mugging, in my opinion. As Galloway moves ahead of the AlphaTauri for the second time this race. And once again, Lucchesi not putting up much of a fight there. Potentially understandably due to the difficulties of that chicane.
I'm not so sure Lucchesi can defend something that comes through like a freight train. That was very impressive. I've not quite seen a speed difference in that like that in an F1 car for a while.
Well, it all came through Eau Rouge and Radion, didn't it? Because Lucchesi was really struggling. As in the background, apologies, that is the Ferrari of Rumpel, and he went straight in there into the exit of Pouan, and I wonder if he just carried a bit too much speed there. But that is a huge, huge loss for Ferrari. They did not need that. No,
after a difficult start to the season, it looks like it's not getting any better. Luckily, we have not got a safety car, but we have seen enough retirements to match our safety car count last week.
Absolutely, and as well as that happened, by the way, Ivo Silva's now up into the podium places. Great stuff, and you can see Silva was closing in on that third place. Looks like it has happened. Lucchesi then trying to keep up then with Galloway, as Galloway loses the back end, and it's probably close to having their own moment if they keep that up. But Lucchesi, once again, not close enough to take advantage of that opportunity.
The only relief here is for people like Fragile Tunnel, Pato and Synchro, who are having undoubtedly very, very hard weekends. It's okay, because you're well inside the top 10 now. You can relax, you're going to get points, no matter how bad this weekend gets, you're going to get rewarded. Assuming,
of course, that they do finish this race. There's still 11 laps left to go, including this one. Worth pointing out Craig there, we did see him just get a 3-second time penalty. He is, remember, he started this race from, what was it, 12th or 13th? He's up to 5th at the moment. Great stuff from him.
Yeah, he's definitely having a very good race here, Craigo. Normally better in race conditions than qualifying anyway. But I'm just a bit baffled of where he's lost 20 seconds to Richie. I don't think the leading pack have been that quick, have they?
I'm not entirely so sure, to be honest. But that's like I said, that's a pit stop away. So Richie, if he wanted to, towards the end, if he wanted to pit, go for fastest lap, might be able to.
And the race win, maybe.
Possibly.
If I'm Richie, I'm looking at that as a viable gamble now, because the leaders are only 4 seconds up the road. If I pit onto a set of soft tyres with 6 laps or 10 laps to go, there's no reason I couldn't catch that back up.
I guess the problem is, could you catch them? If it is a fairly long track, you can make that time. You can make time in there. I suppose the question is, that's a 20-second gap.
If you're fourth, there's nothing to lose.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And if a safety car comes out, you're back in contention.
Richie on Silva very early in the middle of the camo straight.
Richie back ahead of the Haas driver, and that podium that Silva was enjoying, sadly, has gone to a Ferrari once again. Richie up into the podium places.
Yeah, but Silver's not give this up. Richie has to defend now. Down the hill, into the very hard hairpin. And Silver's back up the inside, so... Into the no-name corner, Silver's looking like he's the more aggressive of the two drivers on them tyres, but maybe Richie's quicker.
Yeah, Richie just about having to try and enforce an attack on Richie. Richie defending very nicely there. Wonder if Silver's running just a little more downforce, but unfortunately, I think Silver's just caught the grass then on the exit out of the chicane, and that might have just opened a gap up there for Richie just to sprint away. And also worth mentioning, Galloway has not shaken off the AlphaTauri yet.
No, he hasn't. Lucchesi's really close, and Bumblebee's had a moment, I believe.
Yeah, that's on the exit of Pouhon Corner, that one. Bumblebee having a pretty dramatic race at the moment. And off goes the advertising board.
Yeah, Lucchesi's really quite close to Galloway, as Silver is to Richie, so we've got a race for first and second, and a race for third and fourth.
Do you remember 2018 in Formula 1 when it was Brendan Hartley against Sergei Sorokin? They just kept trading places because of the DRS. Could we have a similar scenario here, perhaps?
Yeah, Richie's not quite close enough to make it a DRS train, so no one gets an advantage. So Lucchesi could just pass Galloway, and Galloway could repass Lucchesi, and that could be like that all the way to the end. And then it'll become really important to people like Galloway. Do I just wait a lap? Not take the move and have the advantage coming into the last lap?
Silver, unfortunately, might have just hurt their chances there. That's a 3-second time penalty. Worth mentioning, top three has not got any time penalty, so that penalty for Silver there might be very costly, but...
Galloway picked one up, as you say, that through Pouhon.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? We said this last week. We have commentators curse. I think every time we say something happens. I think we've got the most cursed commentator duo in history, in my opinion.
Yep, for sure. I think I will look up there with George Russell.
Yep. I'm just saying here, if any Division 3 driver wants to chuck us a message, we can give bad luck to someone. Just pay us a $5. We will gladly help with that. To make a business
Other than
out of
Galloway, we're not going to help Galloway in this situation because this is a very intriguing battle for the lead going on.
Yep, absolutely. So Galloway's now got a big task on their hands. They've got to create a 3-second gap, or hope Lucchesi gets a penalty as well. Richie has now dropped Silver out of that DRS window, can they now go and challenge the potentially for that race win if they can catch up? I mean, it's a big ask to do because there's a huge amount of time to make up, but there's potentially 8 laps to go. It can happen.
Lucchesi for the lead.
Absolutely, and as I say that, there goes Lucchesi ahead of Galloway. So it's the leaders switch and switch again. Lucchesi back up into that lead. But now the question is, can Lucchesi hold it from the Alfa Romeo? Or will it just keep switching and passing?
I don't know if his car's working better in the dirty air because there's not as much downforce and it's not stressing the tyres as much, but every time he's been in the lead, the car seems to go a little bit brittle and a little bit shaky and not as stable as it looks as when he's following people like Galloway. Yeah,
definitely. Galloway's still within that DRS window. Closest battle on the track at the moment as well. You can see all the gaps there, particularly to 4th and 5th at the moment. There's a huge 20-second gap between 4th and 5th place at the moment.
Yeah, if I was Silver, I would maybe risk a pit stop right now and just see what happens. They're not going to lose the position because you're going to be quicker than CJ Butch anyway.
Absolutely.
So you might as well just risk it and see if you can catch Richie back up and take that podium back.
Definitely, absolutely, for sure. As we see there, Lucchesi setting the fastest lap of this race. Still not cleared the DRS out from the Alfa Romeo yet, but strong signs of pace here at the moment as we see Galloway there short shifting through the exit of turn 1. There's going to be people in the comments criticising me for not knowing the names of all the corners. I'm trying my best.
Yeah, and Galloway's got another freight train overrun up the hill, so much so he nearly had to go into another county to overtake Lucchesi there. So he's doing really well.
And
And that's another good overtake.
And once again, it was through Eau Rouge and Radium where all that time was gained. You can see there was the overspeed there. Lucchesi just not having the confidence to take all that speed through Eau Rouge and Radion.
It's not, it's no wonder why, because if you get too ambitious into that corner, you're out. In real life, it's flat all the way through, I believe, in the dry. But on this game, with a bit of dirty air, it's not so flat. It's maybe a minor lift or two in the middle. So that's what he's probably just trying to figure out. Where's the grip? Because you don't want to ruin a good 16-long race for the lead by a little bit of over-eagerness to make an overtake.
Absolutely. I was watching this CJ Butch as well, having a pretty lonely race, down in 5th place. Got a huge 20-second gap ahead of him, 6-second gap behind. That's a pretty lonely time for that Alfa Romeo driver. His teammate, on the other hand, enjoying the lead of the race at the moment, albeit he's got to still clear 3 seconds up to Lucchesi behind. And Richie, sadly, not making much of an impression. And as you mentioned, Silver potentially risking a pit stop. Into the pits comes the Haas driver.
Yeah, I think the earlier he did it, the better chance he gives himself of completing it. But I wish him really good luck, because this could be really interesting towards the last few laps of the race if he can definitely close up to Richie.
That was a fairly long pit stop there for Silver there, and that's just going to allow CJ Butch now to go ahead into... Or was it? No, it wasn't. Apologies. Silver's still ahead of CJ Butch, only just though. So that's rather interesting. In that, we'll see how much progress can be made, or potentially just going for that fastest lap perhaps there as well. And I wonder if Richie might consider doing the same there in response. Is that too much of a risk?
Richie could now, because he's got the pit stop window there. He knows he can make that pit stop and it would cover off Silver. But that also takes him out of the chances if these two come together racing for the lead. He's too far back to take any advantage of that. Yeah,
definitely. Lucchesi's still keeping within that DRS window of the Alfa Romeo behind. I'm watching on board with Synchro as well. Synchro is caught right up to the back of Craig at the moment. That battle for 6th and 7th place at the moment. Craig on 8-lap-old medium tyres. Synchro on 11-lap-old hard tyres. So Craig's fairly lonely race at the moment is about to be spoilt, I think.
So Richie's banking on a bit of a chance here of these two coming together, maybe racing. He stayed out, so he's not going to cover Silver. He's not going to have the chance to do that now either. Silver's coming a bit too quickly at him. So he's now going to have to stick this out and really just either hope that he gets a really long, boring race to the end, or these two maybe come together and he upgrades position, because if Silver catches him, he could be in a bit of a world of pain there, because he might not have much to respond with.
Yeah, absolutely. That 3-second penalty is a huge problem, and we have got the Williams there, a fragile tunnel pitting, and that is a virtual safety car deployed.
Not what Silver needs. He needs every second of this to be full green racing speed, so he can be making that indent on Richard. This is taking time out of his hands, if anything.
Absolutely. Richie is still in that 3rd place, a good, comfortable margin, and that has brought up the safety car. Safety car has been deployed. That may have just backfired on Silver.
No, that's worked really well for Silver.
Oh yeah, apologies.
If these boys have to pit, he's not going to gain a position, but
he'll be within range of them, surely. Yeah.
If these boys don't pit and try and stay out, thinking the tyres are okay, he's got an advantage. He's now relying on Galloway, Lucchesi, and Richie to have a knowledge of what's going on behind them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of just focusing on their battle. So this asks a big question. Galloway pits.
Galloway pits then. as does Lucchesi. What does Richie do?
If I'm Richie, I stay out and I try and take the win on the mediums. I'm not going to lie.
And Richie does pit as well. So now identifying the threat then of potentially Silver and responding to that. So while Silver hasn't gained the advantage of track position, Silver has now once regained all of that time that was lost in the pit stop. So, but this could be, well, this will be a 2-lap race to the finish, surely then.
Yeah, this is going to be what F1 calls 2-lap shootouts, but in NASCAR it's green-white checker. And that's going to be what it is. The green flag's going to come out and you're going to go on to your second to last lap and you're going to have basically 2 laps to sort yourself out. But this now means Richie is in a net second place because Galloway will fall outside of maybe the top 5 or 6 if he cannot get 3 seconds.
Definitely. We see there Synchro and Craig are pitting. It's worth mentioning as well, as on lap 19, we remember on this track Antoine Hubert, driver number 19, who lost their lives tragically 2 years ago in that fatal crash. We remember the very proud French driver, and I think it's safe to say it was a very tragic accident, and we remember him throughout this race. Coming back onto this, what I was mentioning as well, interestingly, CJ Butch didn't pit. Neither did Ninas, but I think Ninas is disconnected. How much of a disadvantage will CJ Butch be on those medium tyres?
Synchro is going to walk past him. It's not going to be hard.
Absolutely.
He's at such a disadvantage. Unless he can put up some Fernando Alonso defence, he's in a whole world of lot of very quick cars coming past him.
You know how I was saying CJ Butch has had a lonely race? Is that my commentator's curse kicking in again? Shall I just stop? I should stop speaking, but that wouldn't be really good as a commentator, would it?
No, I think these drivers may have to live without a little bit of a commentator's curse, but I think it's interesting how we mentioned Anton Hubert, and what a talent he was. I think we're seeing quite a few talents flourish in our junior formula here in Division 3. I think Galloway's really shown himself this week to really be a very solid driver when he can get it together. Definitely,
and this is great to see as well. In all of these divisions, so much competition between all of them. Unfortunately, we aren't showing Division 4. You may have seen is postponed until the 12th of September, and there's going to be so much talent here. It could be future Division 3 stars in the makings there as well. Potentially some drivers here going into Division 2 next season, but we're only in round 3 at the moment. There is plenty of opportunities to show craft here. But let's run you through the order then. We are on lap 20. Galloway leads then from Lucchesi in second. Richie in third place, ahead of Ivo Silva. CJ Butch in fifth on the medium tyres that pitted on lap 9. Synchro in sixth after a very chaotic race, still in the points, ahead of Ninas Pado, who, remember, started on the medium tyres in 13th place, although I believe is disconnected.
Off the road.
Yeah,
Gallo nearly put himself out of this race warming his tyres up, so he needs to be a little bit careful and not lose focus under the safety car.
Yeah, that's the perks of having the grass and all the gravel there as well. As soon as you dip a wheel on that can send your car 180 degrees. And for Galloway, who's done such a good job of keeping the race lead, that would be a horrible way to end it. What's also worth mentioning, remember, Galloway's got a 3-second time penalty. This safety car isn't going to help.
No, this safety car isn't going to help, but it is going to help.
It's going to help.
Fresh tyres. If there's ever going to be a point where he's going to pull a 3-second gap, it's going to be now.
Yeah, but only...
But in the same way, he's lost half the laps to do it in.
Yeah, he'll have 2 laps to go in this session. It says 2 laps, much like Formula 1 had. No DRS either as well, so this will all be reliant on talent, battery power, and how you want to deploy it at the moment. We're assuming, of course, the safety car comes in at the end of this lap. It should do. For the likes of Galloway, Lucchesi, Ritchie, as the safety car does come in, those 2 laps they'll want to extend for as long as possible. For CJ Butch, on the other hand, they'll want those 2 laps to go in a heartbeat so they can walk away with 5th.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of talent on show here. Every driver in this final 9 that are lapping on this 20 have demonstrated a huge amount of skill to get this far.
Absolutely.
But this is now going to become a very, very brutal 2-lap shootout. I don't expect any of these drivers to play nice anymore, and I wouldn't blame them either. There's a win on the line, and everyone is now within a shot of having that win. So let's get back to racing.
Galloway's let the safety car go, takes the widest line. Galloway, we are back under racing then for 2 final laps then. Galloway having a really good restart there from Lucchesi, from F1 Ritchie. Then comes Ivo Silva in 4th ahead of CJ Butch. And already Craigo making a move there on Ninos, who I believe was disconnected. Synchro ahead of CJ Butch. And you said they'd pass in a heartbeat, and they did as they go through Eau Rouge and Radion. Galloway galloping away in that Alfa Romeo, having a decent gap as well. Ritchie looking at the back of that AlphaTauri, not far enough ahead to make a move yet at the moment. We're watching Bumblebee on Craigo at the moment, getting super close, but just a little too far back at the moment. So for Galloway, that's the perfect restart. Now if he wants to continue to win this race, needs another 2.5 seconds to pull out in about a lap and a half.
Yeah, that's a tall order for anyone, and if Galloway doesn't win this race on track, he's my winner anyway, because I know what it's like to lose a race under these conditions, and it's heartbreaking. So it'll be very interesting if he does lose this race to see how he bounces back next week and how he responds.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember, Lucchesi could also still get penalties as well. So for Lucchesi and for Ritchie as well, they need to ensure that they keep squeaky clean on these last 2 lap and a bit, just to ensure that they could snatch the win from Galloway there. As you can see, Lucchesi right on the back of Galloway at the moment. And I wonder if
we're going to have a look at Ritchie into the bus stop.
Silva keeping a look and going to have to go round the outside. That looked a little too deep, but has he made, as the move has been made? No, it hasn't, and Silva has to drop back for the time being. It was a great attempt by Silva there, but a little too deep on the brakes. Bumblebee ahead there, as now round the outside once again goes Silva on this final lap, and it looks like they're going to battle through Eau Rouge and Radion, and Ritchie.
Mark Webber-esque, is it going to come off?
And
it's not quite.
Not quite. Silva just has to back behind here, but now as they go through this back straight here, and Ritchie will have to defend this one surely, but Silva pulls out to the inside line here, brakes later, and goes straight through. Great battle there between the pair of them, and Silva, right at the last minute, has snatched third place.
Penalty.
Yeah, I was about
Ritchie doesn't need to fight that so much.
No, absolutely not. And but that really benefits Galloway then, because there's a 3-second gap that's opened up to third place. So whatever happens here, second place looks inevitable, but that race win at the moment looks to be going Lucchesi's way at the moment. But you know what? I'm not going to say anything more there, because commentators curse. We've said enough on this, but we'll wait until the checkered flag comes out as they come through then this final sector and into Blanchimont as well. Great battle between these top 2, hugely phenomenal, and Galloway will finish. Looks like we'll finish this race in first place on track. But it is going to be time penalties that are going to determine this at the moment. It's been a great race. Thoroughly enjoyed this Belgian Grand Prix. It has been delayed, but super worth it. Galloway crosses the line then to win, and he will cross the line first, but it is Lucchesi who wins the Grand Prix due to penalties. Galloway does at least take the fastest lap of this race. Ritchie will take the final podium place on the podium. Great job.
And Bumblebee with an astounding job to come back to 4th place there. He managed to jump Silva even with penalties.
Super drive there from the Mercedes driver. We thought Mercedes Day had gone really south at the start of this race. a fourth place, they will guarantee, they will happily take that.
Yeah.
But it is.
I think the day definitely belongs to Lucchesi.
Absolutely, yeah. Great battle between Lucchesi and Galloway as well. It was time penalties that decided it, but I think that's a super drive from both of them, and also from Richie as well. Phenomenal race. That's a happy Belgian Grand Prix for me. 9 drivers finished. We lost 5, unfortunately, through crashes, mostly. But Lucchesi then, your race winner ahead of Galloway. Richie from 8th to 3rd. Great performance from the Ferrari driver. Bumblebee up to 4th after a very chaotic start to the race. Silver in 5th ahead of Synchros, who had a pretty difficult race themselves. CJ Butch finishes the race in 7th ahead of Craig, who started 12th. Ninos, who started 14th, finishes 9th. And then the remainder, DNF, Fragile Tunnel, Rumble, Chris, Aizen, and KTM Sweden. 3 of them in through Radion, 2 of them through the Puon corner as well. And Galloway is taking the fastest lap and that additional point. Well, that is the end of this race. We will be back next week. I'm not 100% sure where the race is next week.
Next week it's China, out in Asia, and it should be a really good race. It's a very technical track and never fails to disappoint. So join us next week at China for round 4, where Division 3 will go into battle once again.
Absolutely. No, brilliant stuff. Well, I'm looking forward to it. We will see you again next week in China. It's been an absolute pleasure to be commentating alongside with Koala, and we will see you again next week for more action in China.